Okay, and now let's go over to cinema. Let's go to cinema. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to talk Wakanda Forever. The
Wakanda
big
Forever. No spoilers. That's a tough one. It's a tough one.
it's going to be a bit of a it's going to be a bit difficult to have no spoilers.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm going to stick with is I'm going to say unless it's totally egregious, anything that is in the trailer, I'm going to talk about. Anybody that they reveal in the trailer that's in this film, good to talk about. So Wakanda Forever, I'm gonna kick off with this, and so this is the sequel to Black Panther. So obviously this is the God knows what number we're in on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think we're getting close to 30. We must be about 26 now. They might be about the 26th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. We're back in Wakanda, as the title says. We're black with and the big thing about this film was that probably about a year ago now, the news came out that Chadwick Boseman had died from stomach cancer, and he was T'Challa. He was the Black Panther. He was the one that the first one was built around. There was a lot of the success of the first film was all around this guy and about the fact that you finally had oh, look, an African superhero, noble, royal person. And the big question was, how on earth are they going to continue with this film after he died? And I think even the people in the film, I was listening to an interview with Danai Gurira, who plays Okoye in the film, and she said that she too thought, oh my God, once Chadwick went, that's it, we're kind of done. And the film, I love the fact that the film addresses that head on, because they already said that they weren't going to recast T'Challa, they weren't going to recast Black Panther. They deal with it head on. So Chadwick Boseman's dead, and this film starts off, and from the very beginning, T'Challa is dead. T'Challa is dead. We don't know exactly how T'Challa died. We know that it was like a mystery illness, and a big thing, his death powers a lot of the film, because the film comes up in the aftermath of his death. What happens? Because some people now think, oh my God, there's a power vacuum in Wakanda, so we can go. Because the whole thing about Wakanda is that at the end of the first film, they reveal that they have vibranium. They reveal they have loads of vibranium, which is the most powerful, the most sought after element in the world. And then you have all these different people who are trying to go for a power grab, a land grab on Wakanda to get his vibranium. And it's about how Wakanda is like fending that off. His mother, Queen Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett, she takes the throne, so she becomes the leader. She becomes the leader of the country, and it's about how they're fending these things off. His sister Shuri, who feels really, really bad that even though she's a scientific genius, couldn't save him. She sort of retreats, and she's like going really, really into her science and all that. And so a large part of the beginning of this film is all about grief. How people handle grief, what goes on with that, and how it goes on with the country, and how they carry on going things. And I think Angela Bassett, thankfully, has a lot more to do in this film than she did in the last one.
Yes, yes.
And I think
and very well.
Oh yeah, brilliantly. She is. I mean, you totally. But you're like, of course she's a queen. Look at her. Look at
That's it.
the.
And Toes, I know sport thing, but when it is a United Nations thing, when she's sort of handling herself, I think she handles herself absolutely brilliant. I really.
I think she does too. I think she does too. I mean, there's bits of it where with me, my issue with Black Panther is, as much as I love Black Panther, I've always said that Black Panther was something that was made for the sensibilities of Black Americans as opposed to Africans. So, and I always said, like, okay, cool. You have this whole cast, but you look at the cast and it's mostly Black Americans playing Africans. And while I'm not trying to deny them that bit of the heritage that they've been denied for God knows how long, at the same time, I'm like, it would be good to have, a couple of African performers actually based in Africa in the cast. It would be good to have that. It would be good to have, a better proportion of that. And I have the same way when you have an American doing an English accent, there's always the same way when you have an American doing an African accent, that United Nations scene, because it's probably the biggest bit of time where she has while she's doing her Wakandan accent. There were bits where I was like, ooh, that was a bit stagey. Ooh, that was
right, okay.
Yeah, I could see you putting that on. No, I'm not sure we would say it like that. And so there were bits of it, but all in all, but I agree with you, that United Nations thing, it's kind of like if she was nominated for an Oscar, that is the scene they would play.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't obviously pick up on those sort of little foibles that you were pointing out, but obviously you would much more. But I really like that scene. I thought, I mean, it just really noble, really, really well.
Yeah, really composed, really composed,
yeah,
and
composed.
And you get this element because obviously there's this whole idea of the rest of the world trying to come to Wakanda to take its resources, which of course obviously set off my colonialism klaxon. But I think in the Black Panther series, they are very much trying to set off your colonialism klaxon. They're very much leaning into that, and really they're very much saying, yeah, colonialism. And like so, or like a whole bunch of places, it was mainly America and Europe trying to get to Africa to take resources out of Africa. And in that scene, there's just this element of Wakanda is a grown-up in a room full of children. And they really, and I really, really love that. So obviously you have all these things that the film does, and the fact that Chadwick Boseman's no longer around means that all the people, they make this film more of an ensemble piece. So all the people who were kind of like in the background in the first film come to the fore. And with the whole Black Panther, that means that it's mostly women. So you have Ramonda, Angela Bassett, you have Shuri, Letitia Wright, you have Okoye, Danai Gurira. You have all these people, you have like Nakia, like Lupita Nyong'o, all coming to the fore. But also in this, while this whole thing is going on, they have this whole thing, which if you've seen the poster, you would know about this. And if you've seen the trailer, you would know about this. That a long-awaited Marvel character who nobody thought would ever come to the big screen because he's too stupid on the page comes to the big screen, and Marvel decide we're gonna go there. And this is Namor the Submariner, who shows up, and he comes up with his tidy, with his budgie smuggler shorts and his wings on his ankles and essentially. This is the kind of thing that somebody probably came up with in a drunk-fueled haze in the 70s or something. But he showed up on screen, and the way they bring him into the story, and this is the thing that with the film that got me, Sean, is that the way they bring him into the story is I was sitting out there going, is that convenient or is that good storytelling? And there's a lot of things in this film where I'm thinking, is that just convenient comic book nonsense or is it good storytelling? Is that just a MacGuffin, or have they come up with a good reason for that thing to be there? And it was I was sat at the end of the film, sat there going, was it? And I think I decided, I've come down on the side that it's good storytelling. It's good storytelling that they just about came up with a good reason why that is there. While Namor shows up, what Namor demands of the Wakandans, what comes up between Namor's land, which in the comics was called Atlantis, but now it's called Talokan, and Wakanda. The link that Talokan and Wakanda have, because when I talk about setting off your colonialism a lot, they go there because they have so Namor's world of Talokan actually comes out of his story comes out of South America, so it's a very Mesoamerican, and it's very, I think it's Mayan. There's a lot of Mayan signature, and there's a lot of, and it's pretty much like having a Mayan culture underwater when they have, and I love the design of the Talokans. I love the fact that it's a different world. I love the fact that the way they actually do things, like their water bombs. Their water bombs are, I think it's just really, really well done. I think that there is a conflict that comes up in the film, and the way they go about sorting out the conflict, it makes sense that would go that way. It makes sense that it would go that way. There are a couple of things that when I think about it, I'm like, hang on a second, but because Namor is well known for hating the surface world, and in the comics, and he's almost kind of like a supremacist. He's like an underwater supremacist where he just wants to wipe out the world because underwater should be the ones who should be in charge. And the reason they give for where that comes from, it makes me I have some questions. I'm like, hang on, but wouldn't it just be those people as opposed to be the entire world? But anyway, there's things there. There's things that you can ask and you can ask. But Sean, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to take a breath and let you tell me what you thought.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying that what you were talking about, I think that was, I think that was good storytelling. And what I really, really liked is when it came to that, the Wakandans decided they were going to stand up to it. I really, really liked that idea, rather than they were like, okay, this is where it's going to go. If this is where it's going to go, we're going to stand up for it. We're not going to, we're not going to take it lying down, even if we have tried a different way.
Yeah,
we've tried different ways to put this, but if it comes down to it, we're going to make a stand. We're not going to. I really, really like that because I think they would. And this it's difficult to say, but it just felt right. Everything, like me, huffy puffy, tuffy.
Yes,
type things I get going. This, I just thought, well, no, they're doing things that a country would do. A country would do. You know, they're not lying down. They're not taking it. They're saying, hey,
they're giving you a reason for all these different things to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I always feel like in Wakanda, I feel like Ryan Coogler, who does this, that I feel like whenever he does something with Wakanda, they're almost trying to show you the way they think the world should be. The way they think, because there's a line in there where somebody says something along the lines of, like, okay, Martin Freeman's character Everett Ross, he shows up again, and obviously he's kind of like the CIA envoy to Wakanda.
Talking of accents, I'm not so sure of his one, but hey.
Martin Freeman's. I think I've heard Martin Freeman do, like, essentially, if you've ever seen the TV show Fargo, where Martin Freeman does like a sort of Midwestern American accent, and with that, so after that, this seems like a breeze compared to that one.
Definitely, yeah.
But I still think he's way better at American accents than Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, definitely.
But never mind.
Never mind.
That has just made me think, though, in your colonialism piece of remembering Shuri calling him colonizer.
Yeah,
Black Panther. That was just beautifully.
No, there is a callback. There is a callback to that in this, which I think is actually really is. Yeah. It's funny. It's quite sweet when the callback comes in. But he makes this. He has this sentence where he says something like, he says like, "Look, because everybody's trying to go at Wakanda, he's like, have you ever thought for a second of what they could be doing with the vibranium?" He's like, imagine if we had the vibranium. Imagine what we would be doing with it. And I feel like with Wakanda, they're sort of trying to put forward this is the way the world could work, but in a superhero movie. And there's long period. Okay, we spoke about another superhero film a couple of weeks ago in Black Adam, where they had all these opportunities to do something in Black Adam that could have been a little bit bigger, that could have been a bit more socially conscious. And then it was as if they caught themselves and they went, "Oh, no, sorry, we're getting a bit deep there. Quick, knock down the building." And in this film, there's periods of time that you're sat down for and I just kind of thought, hang on a second, no action-y thing has happened for quite a while, and I don't mind. I'm happy with these characters and them talking about the different approaches to things and the philosophical thing and this person going through grief and what do you do with that and what happens. I'm happy with this. This is grown up. This is quite grown up.
I know one thing when I saw it. I saw it in that 4DX thing with you have like the smells and the things and all of that. But I was going to ask you one thing with the Wakandans. I guess you call them Wakandans, and they've obviously got different tribes. I mean, was that like Pan-African tribes? Well, because with different or
that's always been the thing that they've done with Wakanda. Yeah. Wakanda, it's because obviously people have complained, and obviously with me, I'm definitely one of them, complaining about the accents and all that, and trying to see what they're doing. Like Chadwick Boseman, when he had T'Challa's accent was, as far as I was concerned, a Nelson Mandela impression. Yeah. And and then you had M'Baku, who was obviously Nigerian, and you had all these different people. I mean, Lupita Nyong'o finally got to use her own accent in the film, and so which is Kenyan, and it's I went from having a problem with that to going, no, Wakanda is essentially Pan-Africa. Wakanda is like a representation of Africa, like all of Africa in one country.
Yeah, that's good. That's what I thought.
And I think that's what they're going for.
With their council.
Like there's there's a funeral scene in this film, and the funeral scene, the fact that there's elements of that's straight out of Ghana. The fact everybody's in white, because in Ghana, you go for a wedding or you go for a funeral, everyone wears white. So it's like, and it's so yeah, there's things about it, but I was just really, really happy with the way they did it. I feel like this time round, because the first film had a big burden of representation on it, and I feel like this time around, the second film, it carries the representation a lot lighter. It carries, like, Wakanda just feels like a place as opposed to, like, an icon that's supposed to mean something. Yeah. But speaking to the guy who plays Namor, who's Tenoch Huerta Mejia, who is actually he's Mexican, but he's of Native American Mexican. I think he's essentially Mayan. He's essentially Mayan, And so they speak a lot of Mayan in the film, and he talks about people who, like the kind of response that this has had for people in that, and I think it's quite good. There's a question about whether they couldn't just do something that was actually Mayan as opposed to make Mayan into another culture and like, appropriate all the Mayan stuff for this underwater kingdom. And I don't feel I'm qualified to talk about that. I think I need to speak to an actual Mayan about that, the same way I would hope like somebody would speak to an African like me about the stuff in Black Panther. Yeah. But in case it isn't obvious, I really, really like this.
Yeah. And in case it isn't obvious, so did I. So
surprised. Didn't get that at all.
I thought it was incredibly well done, and also what I really liked is I thought it was an incredible tribute to Chadwick Boseman as well, and I thought they did that. I thought they nailed that. It was so good. It was almost, in fact, it was quite emotional how they did it.
It's the most emotional I've been in a film for a long time. 100%, they nailed it. They
did it so well. They did it so well, didn't they? Yeah. So excellent.
They did it so well, because when they're talking about what T'Challa meant to Wakanda, there's sometimes where you can think like they sound like some of the eulogies people were given to Chadwick Boseman and what he meant to Hollywood and what he was building in Hollywood when he died. And I just think that they've done it so well. And
I got quite emotional. Really.
I got quite emotional.
It's quite cleverly done.
Yeah, and I think that
I cried over the death of it. I cried when he died. I felt so bad about it, and I always think that's a bit stupid. You don't really understand crying about people you don't know. So
and just to say, with Sean's background at the moment, I've just realized what it is. So it is Chadwick Boseman at the premiere of Black Panther, beside a picture of Letitia Wright at the premiere of Wakanda Forever. And she is wearing a suit in tribute to the suit that he wore at the premiere. And I'm just...
I'm starting. Yeah, shut up.
I know. Sure. I'm with you, man. I'm starting to get teary-eyed. And the thing about it is, I don't know why. I don't know. It's like...
now you said that, I know what you mean. It's like...
Yeah, and I think that the whole film is kind of like... The whole film, they know what they're doing. And the fact that they just used... And I think that there is a parallel to be said about the fact that they used Chadwick Boseman's passing as a way to elevate a whole bunch of other characters. Yes. And from everything that you said about his career, it seemed like he used his career in the short time that he was in the spotlight to use it to elevate a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
If you want to know about that, read about what Sienna Miller said about her paycheck on the film 21 Bridges, and how he took a pay cut so that she could get paid more. And it's like, but anyway, let's move off. 4 stars for me. 4 stars for me for Wakanda Forever. Loved it. Want to see what they do more with this thing.
Yeah,
Sean,
that'd be really good. Yeah. No, totally agree with you all the way, Toes. I'm just going to go the bit I like. I quite like the general in this. You know, the general. Who's the actress that plays?
Okoye. Yeah. Danai Gurira.
And there's a bit like when she's got the car and she's, when they're trying to find the youngster. But it just reminds me going back to, I think it must have been Black Panther, or it might have been Winter Soldier, where there's a scene with Black Panther and the general, but they're dressed in civvies, and Black Widow comes up in the car and he goes, and he goes, as much as he just does that so well, as much as I would like to see that. You know the scene I mean.
I know the scene. It's in Winter Soldier where he's walking out of like some sort of like UN thing, and he walks into the kind of, and it isn't actually the general. It's Ayo. It's Ayo. It's like the second in command, Ayo, who is played by Florence Kasumba. And that's the first time you see the Dora Milaje on screen. And Black Widow is standing in between his car and him, and she goes, "Move." Or be moved. And he's like, as much as I would like to see that. So it's but I think Wakanda is a good thing. I think Ryan Coogler's doing a really, really good job. I'm looking forward to what they do next, and all I'll ask is just please give me more Africans in the film, in the cast. That's the only thing that's my only note. But I think, and there's so much more we have to talk about that we haven't even touched on. There's Riri Williams in the film. There's
we could do a whole show on
it. We could be here for an hour. But I just thought, I think from recent Marvel movies, this is by far head and shoulders above. It's head and shoulders above Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, above Thor: Love and Thunder. This is the best film that they've done for a while. Probably since Spider-Man: Far From Home, or No Way Home rather. So that is it. 4 stars for Wakanda Forever.
4 stars for me. Yeah, that's 2. Brilliant.